Federation of Business Industries. He joins us live right now. George, great to see you. Welcome to the show, and thank you for your time. What do your constituents, almost all exclusively manufacturing companies in the Philippines, what do they make of the situation now?
Well, of course, as a business organization, we're very hopeful that whoever takes over the new administration will be able to come up with new policies that will enable inclusive growth, which means to say that not just certain sectors of the economy will be growing, but a lot of more Filipinos will find jobs, the poverty levels will move up, and businesses will become more competitive, not just locally, but also internationally.
What would be the key way to get this ball rolling, to get it started? Would it be to continue pushing through with a lot of big infrastructure projects which Aquino hadn't managed to sign off on before he left office?
Well, the problems that we're facing is multifaceted, in the sense that we do need to have a lot more infrastructure in place. For example, power, road networks, port facilities, both airports and seaports. But we also need to change the policies dramatically, in that we have been hampered by many bureaucratic requirements from various government agencies, including the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So many permits required just to start a business.
One of the changes that a lot of people have been talking about is making it easier, lifting the cap or ceiling on foreign investment into the Philippines. That is seen as a positive if it does happen. But for Philippine industry, are they ready for that?
We're very open to having foreign investments coming to the Philippines, because the way we think about it is that if they come, then they're actually moving, let's say, their facilities to the Philippines, and that's always good for the economy, in the sense that even right now we have multinational companies that are members of ours, and the criteria is that they should be manufacturing within the Philippines, so that not only can they supply the domestic market, but they can also export to the international markets, including ASEAN.
All right, so at least some of the value stays at home. Gotcha. Sri, come in on this.
Martin, thank you. George, good to see you. I'm going to put you on the spot here, so forgive me. Can Philippine business leaders work with a man like Rodrigo Duterte if he wins this election, or do you believe his election, if he is successful, will usher in a period of turbulence and uncertainty? And uncertainty is the last thing that business needs.
Shri, thank you for inviting me today, and I do believe that what you're referring to is the apprehension of some of the members of the business community that Mayor Duterte's style is not exactly, you might say, part of the civil society's way of doing business, in that they don't talk properly, he uses a lot of foul language. But essentially, I think all of that is just the way he is. But when it comes down to making sure that the Philippines is right on track, he does have people that will help him make sure that he's guided properly.
Okay, so yes, people have raised this point before, that the trash talking, the foul mouth, the foul language, etc., is just campaign and political posturing. But if and when he does assume office in Malacanang, that is going to change. He'll clean up his act. But more importantly, he has a very sound team with him. In Davao, we know his team includes a lot of policy wonks and people who look at economics and things like that. How many of these people would he take with him to Malacanang, and who would they be? Do you have any sort of sense?
I think he has a much broader base than the one that's just based in Davao. He has a lot of friends outside of Davao, including the mainstream business and economic leaders who have been advising him. Some of them have been named in the newspapers, and I know personally some of them, and I believe that they're all capable people. And this would include possibly the people that he would appoint in government in non-economic positions. For example, some of the friends of his from his school, and some of them who are lawyers. And it takes all kinds of...
Names like who?
Well, I've seen the former Prime Minister Cesar Virata as one of the people who has guided him economically. So I think he's an old hand at these things, and he's a very capable. And he was known as a technocrat during the time of former President Marcos. Yeah. So I'm fairly comfortable in that the business community will be able to work with whoever wins this election.
Okay.
And in the case of Mayor Duterte, if he wins it, I see no problems with that.
Gotcha. George, great to talk to you. Appreciate your time. George Chua there, Sri, head of the Philippine Federation of Industries, as our coverage here of the Philippine vote continues. Back to you.
Great conversation, Martin. So my main takeaway there is that Duterte, if he does win this election, needs to surround himself with a deep bench of capable technocrats. Right, we'll leave it there. Martin Soong there in Manila. Coming up, the Filipinos are heading to the polls today, and it will soon be time for Australians to do the same. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull